he said, I know that through this money, that they see me as a little country, and I need the money, and I'm, in other words, I'm a rat, and I'm going to take the cheese. And once I take the cheese, then they have me, right? And I need more and more money, and I'm trapped in this. And then he said, but if my citizens go into self-custody, spend in Bitcoin, and run nodes, then I can get the cheese and I can get out, right? And I went, wow, he actually understands the global game at play. He understands how big this game is. And then there's a bunch of Bitcoiners yelling at Bukele. Well, they still spend most of their money and measure Bitcoin in fiat currency.
They're the ones, when they come to visit, will refuse to spend Bitcoin. They want to spend fiat.
It's wild. He understands that people need to run nodes. People need to spend in Bitcoin, not a stable coin. People need to run circular economies. People need to build on top of that. When he said that, it told me everything I needed to know. It told me that if he actually does that, if he protects that, then companies are going to race here, right, to also keep that protection.
Jeff, we finally got you on the podcast here in El Salvador, in the National Palace. I mean, how awesome is this?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
I mean, I love my studio in El Zante, but it's hard to compare with being in the palace here. So.
I don't know. I saw your studio, saw your place in El Zante. It's pretty stunning. Pretty stunning. I'll do the next one there.
Yes, next time. So I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'll just come out swinging in the beginning. What brought you down to El Salvador, and what is your view? There's a lot of Bitcoiners now that are like questioning El Salvador's devotion to Bitcoin, and was this is Bukele backpedaling on this? Is it still Bitcoin country? And I know you came down and met with the president, I think like 6 months ago?
Yeah, about 6 months ago.
And so I'm just curious to hear what you heard and what your take is, and what you would say to people who think that, El Salvador has kind of lost that momentum.
Yeah, so and I respect everybody's opinion, whatever their opinion they have, but here's the way I need to go through things, right? And so I saw all of the same thing. I saw the IMF come in here, and I wondered for myself. And then I got a call from the president's office asking if I wanted to come down.
Was that just out of the blue?
Out of the blue, asking if I wanted to come down and meet the president. And the truth of it is, what I thought at that time is because people know who I am in this space, and you always have to do your own, don't trust, verify. Yeah. But I believe I'm unviable, right? And nothing is going to take me off moving Bitcoin to freedom tech, to a world that looks totally different. And so I think a lot of people see me as that. So what I thought I was getting, what was happening to me is I was being used as a marketing
he would take some pictures with you and say, like, see, we're still real Bitcoiners.
Jeff still says it's this, it's still okay. So I came in with that, but I also came in with, and then the funny thing, the crazy thing is, the other part of the world of my life is Bitcoin. He's a dictator. He locked people up. So when I see these diverging opinions and everything else, what I typically do is I want to see for myself.
Yeah.
So I flew down here because I wanted to look him in the eyes, and I wanted to see for myself. Now, granted, you could never know for sure.
Yeah.
Right? Anybody could cheat you, right? But anybody could say something and then do something different. So Bitcoin, we all know this, is proof of work, proof of work, proof of work. So I understand Bitcoiners when he took the IMF money, why that didn't look like proof of work. So I wanted to come and see for myself. So the meeting was supposed to be half an hour. It ended up being 2.5 hours. And we went through, he's read my book. He understands the process. He was a Bitcoiner far before he was president, right? And he understands this. He understands this probably deeper than just about every Bitcoiner I know, right? More, not deep people that understand Bitcoin, understand what, but there's a lot of people who are still measuring Bitcoin in a fiat world. So he said to me, he said, the challenges of a nation when Bitcoin isn't big enough to solve the challenges yet, right? That people still need to eat, people still need roads, infrastructure, all schools, name the thing, because you had a failed state that had to change. Bitcoin at that time, it wasn't big enough, and by going to Bitcoin, he sent a message to the world that I'm not going to be in a control system anymore. And so I understand why when he went to IMF, it would look like he was captured. But he said to me, and I talked about all the challenges and what that looks like, and he still has to remain elected to be able to do the job, and to remain elected, you have to make sure your citizens are thriving, and they have to have infrastructure. And so, there wasn't enough money in Bitcoin to just do it in Bitcoin, so he took the IMF loan. And he said to me, I don't think I'm... So I'll say exactly what he said to me. He said, I know that through this money, that they see me as a little country, and I need the money, and I'm, in other words, I'm a rat, and I'm going to take the cheese. And once I take the cheese, then they have me, right? And I need more and more money, and I'm trapped in this. And I'm going to say something after this, and then he said, but if my citizens go into self-custody, spend in Bitcoin, and run nodes, then I can get the cheese and I can get out, right? And I went, wow, he actually understands the global game at play. He understands how big this game is. And I sat down so that's why when he asked for my help in setting up this conference, if I could come here, now maybe he isn't that, right? But if he allows me to come on stage and in the country and protects my voice to tell every single person in the country that they have agency, then he can't be a dictator, right? Because all of the power goes to the people if they actually do this. And so that's why I'm here. That's why we put on this conference. That's why I helped put on this conference. And it reminded me something. I spent 3 hours at dinner with John Perkins, who wrote Confessions of an Economic Hitman. And he said, listen, at the IMF, what I did all over the world is went to people like Bukele, and so in this hand, I have a bribe, bags full of money for you and your family and people that you care about. And in this hand, I have a gun, right? And they always took the money. And if they didn't, we toppled them. So all of these things inside that, we know that the world's always looked like this, right? We know because it had to, because what I talk about all the time, the natural state of the free market is deflation. Anything that stops that has to be the control system. And we give the control system more of our power, wondering why it's the control system. And so, and then there's a bunch of Bitcoiners yelling at Bukele. Well, they still spend most of their money and measure Bitcoin in fiat currency.
They're the ones, when they come to visit, will refuse to spend Bitcoin. They want to spend fiat.
It's wild. It's wild. And so I get it, right? So it's hard to see in yourself the thing you're doing to contribute. So it's easy to blame somebody else. And so I just let everybody be wherever they are in that space and focus on, am I aligned, right? Am I aligned? And then I want to see everybody else where they are. And it's just a journey over time, people will eventually understand this, or they'll sell their Bitcoin for fiat at a certain price, and they'll be back in that system.
So did you get an impression during your meeting that Bukele has been happy with how things have gone since he made that decision to adopt Bitcoin?
Yeah. So look at what's happened, right?
Yeah.
So I was here. I was here. I was here March in 22 because I wanted to see for myself again at that time, not what everybody said. I wanted to see, could this make a difference? And all of the people, well, because you were here way before, you created Bitcoin Beach, right? You saw what impact, hope, in a circular economy. You could see the impact on the people, and you knew that. And then when Bukele amplified your work, right? What I saw now at that time, Bitcoin Beach was almost this little light, and the rest of El Salvador was a little dimmer,
Yeah.
Right? Because it was so early, right? And then at the same time, like the day before my trip, the day before my speech here, it was all the gang warfare, and what actually intrigued me with the gang wasn't the gang warfare itself, but I brought my whole family. It was scary, right? You know how scary it was at that time, and still that people had that hope.
Yeah.
It was wild, especially at Bitcoin Beach. What in something that the day before, and then Bukele rounded everyone up and put them in prison. But what was wild about the time was a coordinated media response around the world that had never been here, that talked about Bukele as a dictator.
That's what I love. They wouldn't even bother setting foot on the ground, but they're writing stories about what's happening here.
But again, what that tells me, and I have to be careful. So if I was measuring probabilities, and the measuring probabilities on what John Perkins said about the gun and what the world's always looked like a control system, that was created as an event to try to loosen Bukele's grip because he had 95% approval rating, and tourism's was rushing in here. And so what would you do if from the control system, you would create a crisis to try to loosen that grip? You would, if you had 3 other agencies, you would manufacture a crisis just like we see in all countries over and over again. And then why I think that's actually what happened, I can't guarantee. I wasn't. What is it? Because of the coordinated response. Because there is no way that nobody that cared about El Salvador ever, all of a sudden, could care so much that he's a dictator.
It was
like it was the same message.
Yeah.
It was the same message everywhere in the world. That it just means what it feels like is Bukele one-upped them to say, no, this is a free market, right? This is we're protecting our citizens, and in that he actually gained more power, more credibility with the citizens, and so you asked what the difference is. If people come down here, it is remarkable. It's still not everywhere, like there's still things that have to happen. There's still not everybody's
it's in process.
Not everybody's transacting in Bitcoin, but you walk around the streets in like this central district, it looks like better than European city squares, right? Today, it's
and 5 years ago, I've only came down here a couple times when I had to. You did not want to come down here. And now it's a beautiful place.
I came here in 22 and you did not want to get, like I had drivers with guns and everything else to protect, and it was dangerous, scary. And that was only 3 years ago. It's just remarkable what's happened.
Yeah, I'm here with some friends of ours, and they were actually here, I think, starting from 2005 to 2010. He actually got shot in the neck during his time here.
Wow.
And they're just blown away to see how it's changed here. Like it is amazing.
It's amazing. So I would recommend everybody come down and see for themselves, because it shatters your perspective of what you think this looks like through a media lens that is trying to make it look different, to you. This is something, and I know, so you've been here since 2005, right?
Yeah.
So, and I know you think like this. I know you've always thought like this. And so who better to be able to create a circular economy than you, right? In this. But I've traveled to about 85 countries, and I always find that when you actually meet somebody where they are and talk about the things they care about most, we're all the
Oh, yeah.
same. We all the same hopes, same dreams, same everything else. And it's this lens that's trying to divide us, to control us, that's creating this nonsense, right? That it doesn't look like that. And so, and so when you meet people and you see where they are, you don't have to even agree with them
Yeah.
and everything else, but you'll find that the key things, the real deep things, most of the things are easy to agree on.
85 countries. That's impressive. I think I've been to 55 at this point.
That's
but,
impressive
but
too.
85, that is I know we're getting a little off topic here, but I'm just curious as to what was that for work, or was that
so work? But I've just always been curious.
Yeah, that's how I am too.
So,
I just want to see.
And I don't want to go and say in a McMansion, right? Where there's a copy of the U.S. everywhere in the world. I want to go and see the people on the ground. I want to see what it looks like. So, so I've always just been curious, and every time I go, I'm to somewhere else, I'm just reminded about. It all looks the same. It's all really beautiful people that are trapped in a control system, in a bad system.
Yeah. No, I think that's important for us to remember, especially in this day and age where it feels like that's heating up again. They're trying to.
Well, and even on this conference, I'm watching people feeding it by talking about the other as the enemy, right? If we are the one feeding it, right, through our time and energy in that system, there is no other enemy but us.
Yeah.
Right. But it's easier to believe it's not you, it's somebody else.
Yeah.
So it preys upon your own ego that it can't be you. It has to be somebody else. And so, but that's why that's why to go through Bitcoin and really understand it at depth, you then face a choice, almost an existential crisis, right? That the world that you lived in before, that you contributed to, that you thought was right, that was stealing from people, and you were a part of it, and then you have to change, or you don't change, right? And every single person is going to go through that journey, right? And it's a really hard journey to go through. So if I understand it for a whole bunch of wealthy people that have thought that they were helping by donating to these NGOs around the world that make it worse and that consolidates into a system, to face what I just said, to realize that you were a participant that was stealing from the world, is something you don't want to face, right? It's easier to just say the system's too big, I'll just bury my head in the sand, or those crazy Bitcoiners or anything, right? But it's really because you don't want to investigate something that doesn't align with your belief system.
Well, I think because everything in their world is aligned in that direction, that if a couple pieces start falling, they feel like their whole world will fall apart.
Yeah, well, that's what would happen. It could crush you.
Yeah.
Right. As you reimagine what it could look like in a different system and providing value in a system that can't cheat. And each of us has to make that choice for ourselves.
Yeah. I'm curious, did you, when you were talking with Bukele, did you get into it all, what his long-term vision is for Bitcoin adoption here in El Salvador?
So when I said that he wants his, that not Chivo wallet, not anything else, he understands that people need to run nodes. People need to spend in Bitcoin, not stablecoin. People need to run circular economies. People need to build on top of that. When he said that, it told me everything I needed to know. It told me that if he actually does that, if he protects that, then companies are going to race here, right, to also keep that protection, right? Because the rest of the world might not protect that.
Yeah.
And this is going to free markets are way more competitive than closed markets, right? Because it's all of our ideas competing and so those free market ideas will race here, and this will be what this could look like, but what it could inspire as this trickles around the world and other countries try to copy that bold leadership. I think that's his legacy if he does that. If he truly stays the course and does that, it won't just be a legacy in El Salvador, one of the greatest leaders in El Salvador. It'll be a legacy of one of the greatest leaders in the world ever.
And do you think that he feels like the progress he's seen in that is encouraging to him? Has it happened too slowly? Did you get any sense of
what I'd say is this? There's I'm going to try to be measured here.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
There's I'm just my own view, or what it would look like if you were trying to lift a country out that was under this system forever. Then a lot of those people wouldn't have the capacity to even see what you see, right? You wouldn't have the infrastructure in the people to be able to build something. And so I think that's probably been slower, right? Because you have to raise the capacity. People have to believe that they matter, that they don't have to steal. They don't have to be in the system with all the, and that it's not going to be that agency is not going to be taken away from them, right? And so a lot of people won't change right away. They'll stay in fear, right? And they have to change, and then they have to see what's possible out of their ideas, and then they have to, oh my God, and see more and more and more. And so if you've lived always under a system of persecution where your family wasn't safe and everything else, you can't even see the new thing. Right. Well, so what would that look like in a country like this? It would probably look like you could have an incredible leader, but it probably would look like you didn't have the capacity underneath it, right? Until you built the capacity underneath it to really start. So those things are happening together, right? Those things, people are taking, right? Some things working, some things aren't working. They're learning and they're building the capacity together.
Well, I think that's one of those things. We want everything to happen overnight, but the reality is that these things, they actually need to take time to transpire.
They take time because it's
if they happen too fast, then it's actually destructive to people's lives.
Yeah, because it's us.
Yeah,
right? It's us. It's our beliefs that is creating the world that we live in. It's no one else. Yeah. And so if those beliefs are all over here in fear, and now you created something, a jolt, right? It's going to take time for them to move. But now talk about some of the successes. Talk about some of the early students that went through Kubo Plus, or some of the education and everything else, like Mario and others who are just now running the AI strategy here.
Yeah. Mario's great.
So like some of the talent that's now that they can contribute is extraordinary. Right? Because now they're unshackled and everything else. So it's each individual understanding that now they have an ability to contribute that is really driving that. But what will that do? Other people will see, other students of Kugo Plus will look at Mario's success. He'll talk about what it looked like for him, and it'll expand and expand.
Yeah. I think for governments, for somebody in government to embrace Bitcoin, it's so paradigm shifting, because governments around the world, the reason that they can exist in the way they do is because they hide the way that they steal money from their citizens. And it's not just by printing, it's also when there's inflation, taxes go up because you're paying capital gains tax on phantom gains that you're not really gaining in real value, but in fiat terms you have to pay. And so governments, do you think that a place like El Salvador, that they can move in a direction where they can raise taxes in a clear, honest way to pay for government services without that fiat inflation, if they move eventually to a Bitcoin standard completely, you don't have any of that?
If they don't, it will fail, right? The experiment of El Salvador will fail. It'll be captured by a control system, and it'll go right back. if they don't. The only path out of this is a free market that allows that to happen. And so why I think Bukele understands this is he also is making the government smaller.
Yeah.
Right? He's also in line with these things that are driving the productivity. And as the productivity it flows to the citizens through Bitcoin, then the government
and I
gets
think,
smaller.
and sorry to interrupt you, but I think that that's an important point for Bitcoiners to understand, because they think because he has centralized power, but so they assume that means that he's making government bigger, but he's actually made government smaller as he's centralized power. And so I think he's taken a system that was just unwieldy and wasteful and said, hey, let's limit a lot of these things and bring it in and have it. So they're conflating centralization with bigger government.
And some of those Bitcoiners, without understanding that, they would have you should be your spidey senses should be up. Only time will tell.
Yeah.
Right.
No. Yeah.
If he
100%.
stays the course, but the reason I'm down here again is because I believed he would stay the course. Now he could fool me, right, and go back. But the truth is, any Bitcoiner could, right? They could just tomorrow sell out and go to. We've seen lots of Bitcoiners do that, and then go to shitcoins and go to everything else. Lots of it, and I have this model I use so that I'm not disappointed. And the model it's from game theory. But in game theory, what game theory would say is if you added 2 payoff incentives, you won't get caught, and you kept on increasing the reward. What game theory says is about 97.5% of people, sometimes it says 80% of people, but up to 97.5% of people will defect or cheat, right? So if you won't get caught, and the number went from $1,000 to 2,000 to 10,000 to $1 million to 10 million to $1 billion, at some point, 97% of people, it's 0.5% of people will take the money. And they won't say they cheated. What they would say is they needed to do it before somebody else did it to them.
Yeah.
Right. All the movies you watch.
Or they did it because of what they could do with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Mr. Beast, all these things, they're actually built on the same thing, same premise. So that's the negative, and that means in game theory, it's the prediction of what we will do. And so throughout history, what would money look like? You won't get caught, and you could create this massive wealth. It would always look like that, and people would race to it, and it would always break money forever. So what did Bitcoin do? The 2.5% that won't cheat are the nodes.
Yeah.
Are the people that, and we see some of these people cheat and go back right, into the other system. But as long as they keep on filling this up, that creates a new reality for the world that cannot be broken. And I think all of our constructs through time are actually through the same construct, because who would we celebrate? The Martin Luther Kings, the Gandhis, everything else, the people that got killed by standing up for Jesus, right? People that got killed for standing up for a principled right. What we would be celebrating is the thing in us that we couldn't hold, right? And we know we would take the money, right? But when somebody doesn't, it's so powerful, right? That truth stands true. So in time, we'll see if Bukele is the 2.5% or the 97.5%, right? And if he's the 2.5%, he adds his node to our nodes and all of our nodes, and we build, and the world moves there faster.
What do you see as the timeline for? Do you feel Bitcoin is inevitable at this point?
Yes.
And what do you see as the timeline? And what will it be? Small nation states first? Will it be governments will be the last thing that come on board? What do you see as that timeline to get us to that future?
So you already live in that future. I already live in that future. So my day, if I said, what does my day look like? What does my life look like? It looks like a complete reflection of me living in an honest market around honest people, and a beautiful thing that's expanding. And then even better, why I wouldn't yell at this other market or what the whole thing looks like and all those people stuck in that? Why would I yell at them? What the free market demands is you create value for people. So if they don't see something and you can create tons of value for things they don't know they need yet, privacy tech, all of this stuff, then what you could create, the only way you get paid in a free market is creating value for other people.
Yeah.
So that would create the greatest opportunity to create value if you moved your time from the broken market to the free market. And so my life is just that. It feels so easy. It feels like it's getting easier and easier and easier. I'm surrounded by brilliant people building, like you, right? People that I create friendships with, and deep, caring friend because they're also doing the same thing in their part, and every one of us is winning as a result of it. And so why would I yell at a system that is giving me an opportunity to create value? and so when does it happen? To get back to your question, it happens individually by each person wanting to do it. It doesn't happen, and there is no bang and it just happens. Every single person has an opportunity to live in this today when they choose to. If you spend 1% of your time in, 90%, your life will probably be a match of that. If you spend 2%, it'll start to get better. If you spend 4%, it'll get better. If you spend 50%, it'll get a lot better, right? And then you'll stop worrying about what everybody else is doing. And you just you'll be at peace. You can sleep well at night.
So I'm curious. You obviously have a huge following in the Bitcoin space. You have people that look to you, and and I think that comes with the responsibility too. It's a heavy responsibility sometimes when people are looking to you. I know you chose to move, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you completely moved off Twitter, and even though you had a huge following. And so I'm curious as to explain to people what was your thought process behind that, and why it was, rather than having a bigger reach in that audience, why you were willing to give that up and to move to Nostr, and a system you felt was better reflecting of your own values.
I think it's actually the reason I moved to Bitcoin and moved all my time to Bitcoin, as much time as I could to Bitcoin. It's just, I wanted to contribute to the world I wanted to see. And that was another piece of a protocol that was not centralized anymore. I wanted to contribute to it. Now, even when I don't believe everybody should do what I did. I don't believe that if they want to do what I did, but a couple events conspired at the same time. That centralized system, then through that centralized system, hacked my Twitter account. Then you tried to hack everything else of mine, and all of the bots and all of the nonsense and you could tell it wasn't getting fixed. It was the thing that was keeping people there and stuck in a. And I just said, like, I'm not chasing my Twitter account. I'm not doing this. Like, I don't need it. Right? Why am I? I don't need to do anything. Right? I need to make sure my time is valuable with the people I care about and everything else. So that spurred me to do it. But again, could some of my words meet more people if I was still on Twitter? Yeah, probably. And some people who would need to see it. But the other side of that is, when they see me somewhere else, somebody shares my things on Twitter, they have to look me up on Nostr, right? And so if they want to engage, so it's just my way of deciding the time I spend. But you could like, that's why this is. Then why would I go on a podcast that would be on YouTube? Right? Because that's centralized. And so these things, I try to spend my time doing with the things that I think are the right things, and people should spend whatever time they think doing what they think is right. So I don't judge somebody else for what they think. It's just I decided I wanted to spend more time on Nostr.
No, that makes sense. I don't want to keep you too much longer because I know you've had a long
It's all good,
day
all good.
already. But I don't know if you want to talk about Ego Death Capital or any of the other things that you're working on right now, and leave people with where they can follow you, or whatever else you want to leave people with.
So I guess I don't want to promote Ego Death Capital unless if somebody was an entrepreneur is looking for capital. We have a Series A fund now, and it's been so remarkable the things I get to see because of contributing into that. But there's other really good venture funds in Bitcoin too. And so what I would like to see is a lot more venture in
In the Bitcoin space.
Bitcoin space. And I'd like to, and what will probably happen is our returns I think they're going to be so extraordinary. Some of the companies are already profitable. They're adding Bitcoin every single month, and they're growing very fast. And so I don't think there's a price in the fiat world that could pay for how we see this, and what's eventually going to happen, that new exchanges, new NASDAQs are going to be built on Bitcoin, right? Instead of the other. So that transition of what this looks like, I can't believe more people aren't doing it. Right? I really can't believe that there's not tons of money, because all of the other money is getting repriced. All of the other companies, Google's cash flows are getting repriced.
Yeah.
All of these Apple's tech are getting repriced every day in this new system, and so the company's creating value in Bitcoin and adding Bitcoin. I don't know. Try to name the multiple you would pay out of the fiat dollar, right?
No, and I love that you guys have taken that on, because when Bitcoin is your hurdle rate, that really is that can seem daunting. But I also think as Bitcoiners, we want to be productive. We don't want to just sit back and wait for a number to go up. We want to be producing things in the world. So I love to see, investors putting money into Bitcoin companies that are doing real things.
So that's what you just said that so perfectly. Bitcoin's your hurdle rate. If you didn't think you could outperform it, then stay in Bitcoin. But if you know that is a hurdle rate, then the only answer is, how can you collect more Bitcoin? By providing value to other people, and you might have to fund a gap to create the value of the technology or whatever you do. And but yes, that's the hurdle rate. It actually doesn't change anything. It's just you're dealing with an honest system.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're investing on top of that.
So encourage people, if you haven't yet, I know most people already have, but if you haven't read the Price of Tomorrow, definitely pick up a copy. What else do we want to leave people with?
No, I never update the website, but jeffbooth.ca. The only reason I say that is my NPub, any social media that I'm on will be on there. And if it's not on there, it's not me, because you know how many scammers there are, right? And so don't follow me without finding out the real me, right? And the other thing, I will never ask for your money. Or your
Pretty much anybody reputable in this space will never write you and offer you an investment opportunity or ask you for money.
Exactly.
So yeah. All right. Well, hey, it's so good spending some time with you here in El Salvador again. And next time you're down, we'll record in the studio.
Awesome.
So you got to bring your wife down and actually enjoy the beaches there for a little bit. So,
yeah.
all right. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.